Hi there, this video is to give you some instructions about your final project. So your final project can be found in this link. So if you click here, you have a page where you can submit your PowerPoint file, the final file that you will be creating, because basically your final project is a presentation that you record in PowerPoint for me to listen to. So you can find more detailed instructions here in this PDF, and we'll be opening it together and reading it. So in this PDF, you'll find some information about what I'm looking for in this project and how it will be assessed. And it's a really exciting thing that you get to do for this class, which is to conduct some field research in linguistics. What you're essentially doing in this project is you will be conducting an interview with somebody about a language that they know and that you don't. So you have to find a native speaker of a language that you do not speak, and it should be a non-official language, so not English or French. And in this project, you're just going to be documenting some linguistic data in that language and trying to comment upon that data. So say something about that data based on the theories, the linguistic theories that we're learning in class. So the first step of this project is actually due on March 7th, and that would be just to find somebody to interview and effectively choose a language to work on. By March 7th, you should email me, let me know who you'll be working with and what language you'll be working on. There's 3 parts to the presentation in the final project. So the final project itself is due April 18, and it's going to be a presentation that you record in PowerPoint. It should be around 5 minutes long, and it should have sort of these 3 components. The first, where you're presenting the data that you collected. So you will have gotten some sentences and words from the language that you're studying from the speaker that you are interviewing. And so you want to present that data a little bit. So these are the words that I found. These are the sentences that I found. And then you want to offer some kind of linguistic analysis. So use some kind of linguistic theory, phonetics, phonology, syntax, morphology, grammar, in order to describe the data. Like what is interesting about about the sentences that you've collected? How are they different from English, etc. You also should offer, thirdly, a sociolinguistic analysis, so describing how this language fits into your region and into the world. What kind of community speaks this language? Where in the world does the language originate? Is it spoken by a large global community, etc.? So the work in this project, first of all, will be the collection of the data. And so for this project, you should meet with your language speaker at least once, either in person or nowadays, you might choose to meet with them virtually. So in this meeting, what's important is that you ask this person questions about their language. So you can collect like 5 or 10 sentences in the language. You might focus on the sounds of the language, or you might focus on the grammar of the language. There are different ways to get at what you're studying based on the words that you ask them for, right? So if you were, for example, interested in past or present tense, you could ask them contrastive questions, right? So how do you say I eat pasta in your language? Now, how do you say I ate pasta, right? And that way you can elicit it, you can get at a specific pattern that you want to look at. So maybe you wanted to look at past tense, or you might want to look at something else as well. I'd also like you to conduct some secondary source research. So this means looking on the library website, looking on the internet to find things that have already been written about your language, that helps support your linguistic analysis as well as your sociolinguistic analysis. I'll show you in a second the resources that I provided for you in Blackboard. The final format of your presentation should be PowerPoint with recorded narration. And so if you go back here to the final project folder, this video here will show you, the second video will show you how to do a PowerPoint, a narrated PowerPoint using Microsoft PowerPoint. Your slide should also contain citations to the research that you consulted. So you want to be using APA specifications, and you can again consult the library if you're unfamiliar with APA. And your PowerPoint presentation should be around 5 or 10 slides in length and no longer than 5 minutes. How will I be assessing your work? Well, there's 4 things that I'm looking for. The first thing has to do with formatting, documentation, and presentation. So I want to see slides that are properly formatted in APA. I want the research to be properly documented, and I want to see slides that are visually tidy and contain no spelling errors. Secondly, I'll be looking at the quality of the data. So I want the data to be presented in a proper format and with approximate phonetic transcriptions as well. So I mentioned here the format interlinear gloss. Again, I'll show you in a second where you can find information about that format. Thirdly, quality of the linguistic analysis. So I want your presentation to offer some kind of analysis. So you're connecting ideas, right? You're trying to connect things that we learned in class to the things that you learned from your speaker, either relating to phonetics or phonology or morphology or syntax. Finally, I'd like you to, I'll be looking at the quality of your sociolinguistic analysis. So I'll be looking for a presentation that explains the sociolinguistic status of the language within the community, and that provides an overview of how it fits into Canada and the world. So going back into your final project folder, we have here a consent form. So before your research participant starts the study, starts your interview, you should have them sign a consent form just to show that they consent to participate in the study. You should find here some information about how to present your data. So the Leipzig glossing rules are provided here. These are, this is a way to show linguistic data. And so basically we have 3 different lines when we present linguistic data. The first line is the data in the language. So this is Indonesian, for example. And then we have a word-for-word translation. So mereka means they, di means in, Jakarta is Jakarta, the city, and sekarang means now. And then we have on the third line, we have a translation. So what does this actually mean? Because if you look at the order of the words, it doesn't look exactly like English, so you still need to decode what it actually means. So it's just 3 lines that are provided in the interlinear gloss format. So you can consult that for how to present your data. I've provided the link to the library search website. So you can go into here and you can find some linguistic data or linguistic research. If you were studying Swahili, for example, you could find things written about the language on the MHC website. For example, this Columbia Electronic Encyclopedia article would be a great source. Okay, and then I have the World Atlas of Language Structures. So this source will show you some broad features of different languages. So if you go into the languages, if you wanted to again search for Swahili, this language will be documented in the atlas. So it shows you where in the world it's spoken. It also shows you some linguistic features of the language. Things like the consonant inventory, vowel inventory, some grammatical things and morphological components of the language, nominal categories, etc. So all of this is quite technical, but you might find some interesting things in here if you are studying a certain language, and you can cite this as one of your references if you do find some important or interesting information about your language in this database. I have a link to the APA Style Guide, and then Statistics Canada also provides some information about language. So in this source, you can find, for example, how many speakers of the language are in Canada, or in the particular city that you live in, like Medicine Hat or Saskatoon or wherever you are. You can find some statistical information that will help your sociolinguistic analysis. All right, so I invite you to write to me if you have any questions regarding the final project. I also invite you to have fun with this. It can be a really cool experience. Yeah, I look forward to seeing your final product when it is finished at the end of the semester. Okay, bye.